Thank you, Stop Talking, for the donation. In the spirit of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War and Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 making its anime return, why not compare the main characters' teachers, Satoru Gojo and Kisuke Urahara. Urahara just blatantly scales to Isshin Kurosaki, as he fights equally to him in almost every time they fight. So where does he scale? Isshin was able to physically hold back the Dangai by pumping his own Ryatsu into it. The Dangai itself is shown in the inverse diagrams that they draw to be significantly bigger than any singular Kogyoku. The Kogyoku itself is infinite due to being able to hold an infinite amount of souls. Even within the light novels it says that one can roam infinitely within inside the Dangai. If one could roam infinitely, that would also incline that it would have infinite space, hence to be able to roam infinitely in, which would be consistent from the feat prior. But going back to the light novels, it's actually stated that the actual Kogyoku itself is a space-time. Space-time is defined as 3 spatial dimensions and 1 temporal dimension, giving rise to the 4th dimension, or space-time. Again, what makes this more consistent is the fact that the Dangai was also stated to be a hyperspace not only within inside the light novel, but also within some translations within the manga as well. Hyperspace is defined as a higher dimensional structure, mostly in comparison to 3-dimensional structures. So with this being the case, the Dangai is a 4th dimensional construct, and Isshin being able to affecting this would in turn make him 4th dimensional or universal plus. And as we've already established, the Dangai being infinite either from it being bigger than the value of screams or it having potentially its own infinite statement in its own light novel guides. Due to Isshin being actually able to traverse this, or even way weaker characters able to traverse the entire Dangai, that would actually give him infinite speed and Urahara by proxy as he scales directly to him. And for Kisuke's abilities, he has the standard Soul Reaper abilities as being able to directly attack one's soul, and the power knowledge the spiritual pressure can dampen or weaken or completely negate one with their stronger spiritual pressure. But for his own unique abilities, his Shikai creates a red light projectiles and even a red force fields, but when he enters his Bankai, he becomes an entirely different beast. His ability allows him to reconstruct anything he touches, either from healing himself or amping himself or to even fucking over other people. His sealing isn't anything to laugh at either, as he can even seal the likes of Aizen. For Gojo, scaling is a bit more complicated, but as I am one of the only Jujutsu Kaisen scalers out on the platform and I've fostered many of the metas as well, this shouldn't be too complicated with me. Gojo just blatantly scales above the likes of Kenjaku, as he claims if Sukuna wasn't there to save him, Gojo would have literally killed him in his first encounter. He even went the distance to seal him in the prison realm just to keep him out of the picture so he can continue his plans. This is important as Kenjaku was able to tank Yuki's black hole by using his body as the domain. This was also just blatantly stated that the black hole was going to destroy the world if Tengen didn't suppress it, which he also just scales above Tengen as well. Even Sukuna is stated to have the power to destroy the world in the back covers of every Jujutsu Kaisen manga volumes, which brings consistency to planetary Jujutsu Kaisen. And with the possibility that this was a real black hole, this feat can be calced upwards of large planetary to dwarf star level on the high end. I made a whole length video on this topic, so please check it out for more details. But for a newer, higher meta, Yorozu can make a perfect spear which is stated to generate an infinite amount of pressure. Displaying an infinite amount of energy on a 3rd dimensional plane would qualify for high universal. Again, I made a whole full-depth video on this topic and even explained how she scales this, so please check this out for even more details. Another argument that brings further consistency to this point is the fact that Hikari having an infinite amount of cursed energy in his jackpot state. And due to people amping themselves with their cursed energy, even if you argue that he's only amping himself with a fraction of his infinite cursed energy, he would still be amped over an infinite degree, which would still quantify for high universal. And ultimately, for the highest meta for his kind takes place in the most recent chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen. As Sukuna is able to tank a Hollow Purple, this Hollow Purple was not only amped by 120% due to Urame's curse technique, and again overamped 200% by Gojo. So this Hollow Purple is amped at 320% more than usually what it should be. Not to mention he tanked this while off guard as it's explained. This is important as Hollow Purple itself is just 4th dimensional, as it can completely blow through the inventory curse, which inside the Jujutsu Kaisen files is just stated that the inventory curse's insides are a 4th dimensional space. The 4th dimension is described as an extension to our own 3rd dimension that usually includes some higher spatial or temporality to it, which would quantify for universal plus. This can also be consistent due to Gojo being stated to manipulate space-time with his limitless curse technique. His techniques are also derivative from his limitless technique, making all of Gojo's abilities universal plus. And Sukuna by proxy due to him tanking the Hollow Purple. I have also made a video on this topic recently, so for more details I recommend you check it out. Gojo casually scales above the likes of Maki's Mach 90 bullet catching feat to Akari's Mach 4760's lightning dodging feat, as well as many lesser feats that put him in the massively hypersonic speed scale ranges. But that would be absurd downplay, as we have Hanami dodging Hollow Purple at nigh point blank range. Hollow Purple stated to be imaginary mass which in nature moves faster than light. This can be shown as to be consistent as Hanami was able to easily fight a pre-Blackfast Yuji who he himself has performed a sub-relativistic feat casually. And just to be generous, let's just say that the strongest disaster curse that mean Gojo would only scale to this FTL ranges. He's only worth about 9 of Sukuna's fingers, so both Gojo and Sukuna would massively scale above this, but something that brings even more consistency to this point as Kenjaku was not only able to react and activate his curse technique with inside Yuki's black hole, but he could also stand up straight and resist being flattened or spaghettified, which would need to be faster than light speeds, as this is even addressed inside the manga itself. But Gojo can be scaled much higher. As an uncommonly known fact about Gojo's Infinity Barrier, it's solely based upon Gojo's own reaction or comprehension speed, as well as many other factors. This means anything that the Infinity Barrier has reflected or stopped would scale to his speed, as he would have to need to reflect it or understand it. That also means the effect of the Prison Realm. The Prison Realm was first stated to have no flow of time by Gojo himself. This was later confirmed in the unsealing of Gojo that physical time doesn't flow in the realm. This can be quantified for inaccessible speed. However, this can be ramped up to immeasurable speed, as not only some translations say that it lacks the concept of time, but even the Jujutsu Kaisen files say that the realm is not bounded by the laws of time, hence giving Gojo immeasurable speed. However, I'll leave this up to your interpretation on what speed he should be at. As we've already established, Gojo can manipulate space-time, and all of his techniques are derivative from his Limitless. As we're shown in versus Limitless Barriers, he will slow down opponents so they stop and never reach him, or something akin to the Achilles and the Tortoise Paradox. It's further explained as Gege hired mathematicians to explain infinity, and it basically has 3 main functions. It can slow down opponents so they'll never reach him, it can again stop opponents so they'll never reach him, and due to Infinity Barrier being there, it gives the illusion that Gojo's there, but they're not actually looking at Gojo, but actually the infinity itself. And as we've already established, all his techniques are derivative from the infinity, so the barrier itself would also be 4th dimensional. But as Gojo can infinitely converge the space, he is infinitely converging 4th dimensional space, or the barrier itself would be multiversal plus. And with Hollow Purple, he has existence erasure, as not only does it erase matter, but it also erases cursed spirits, and as cursed spirits are not only spiritual beings, but also conceptual. As cursed energy are humans' thoughts or emotions, emotions are conceptual or abstractual. And cursed spirits are made up of cursed energy, hence Hollow Purple not just being existence erasure but also conceptual as well. He with the 6 eyes can also understand any opponent's techniques and how they operate just by looking at them, as well as strong enough sorcerers can even protect their own souls from damage. And with the reverse curse technique he can heal himself, and an uncommonly known fact that they can even heal their own soul. So taking a look at both character stats, we do see in terms of AP, they're actually very relative. You could argue Urahara is stronger due to him maybe potentially scaling above more Universal Plus characters or the add-ins of the Bankai 10 times amp. But in generality, they're pretty much equal. But then when you go to speed, you do see it starts to be different, as we do see that Gojo is actually just bare minimum with the inaccessible speed argument. He is literally over inaccessibly faster than Urahara. And with how Infinity Barrier works, as if he's just his comprehension or reaction speed is just higher than anyone else, he would just auto-neg and reflect and stop them. Not to mention, as we argued, even though he doesn't physically scale to the barrier, but the barrier itself would be multi-plus, meaning not only can Urahara not get past in terms of speed, he would not even be able to bust through the barrier as well physically. Which then we're just going to see he would just instantly almost auto-neg all of his abilities, as he cannot get him close to reconstruct the barrier, as he cannot physically touch it, as we've only seen Urahara's only be able to reconstruct stuff that's been have a physical form or spiritual form, never the actual space he's ever been around, as he's literally space's existence and he's never actually just reconstructed the space. So it'd be fallacious to argue that he can do that when he's never shown the capabilities of doing that. Overall, with him scaling pretty much equally in terms of AP, but in speed he just drastically outscales him, he could literally just over time beat him up, or even just erase his existence with Hollow Purple, or potentially conceptually erase him. Overall, Gojo's winning this, and to be fair, it's more on the mid to like low diff, as I didn't even mention all of Gojo's abilities if I'm being completely honest. Again, thank you for recommending this video and donating it. Remind you guys, you do not have to donate videos, but if you ever do want to donate, my cash app will be on screen right now. And don't forget to join the links in the description below for all the discords, and that'll be all. Mr. Crafty, out.